The players responsible for managing and running the most powerful kingdom in Rise of Kingdoms just announced that their management team is disbanding, and by now all of your favorite Rise of Kingdoms content creators have already covered this topic, but as you can see, this was posted 22 hours ago and my comment here was from 20 hours ago. I saw this immediately, but if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that when it comes to making content in Rise of Kingdoms, I never really make content about other kingdoms or other KVKs. Sorry, I gotta turn on the air conditioner, hang on. I apologize if it gets a little bit noisy, but before we go any further, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Today we're going to cover the topic that everyone's been covering. Okay, now as I said, throughout the history of my channel, I never really cover other kingdoms and other KVKs because first of all, literally everybody else already does that, so why would I do the same? It's just, do we really need another content creator covering the 1960 KVK? I don't know. And on top of that, I typically don't like talking about kingdoms that I'm not in because I don't know what is actually going on. I don't know anything about them. I'm not there, and so I don't have actual experience, and rather than making a video that is speculative and, you know, just trying to get drama clicks, I'd rather just not even talk about it because it's not worth it for me. I just focus on what I'm doing. I focus on what I like to do in Rise of Kingdoms. I stay in my own little lane, and that's pretty much it. Now if other kingdoms want to start drama with our kingdom, you know, hey, as the saying goes, I prefer the high road, but if you want to take the low road, I'll meet you there. But typically ain't much drama on the channel. All right, but this, I would argue, is not really drama. This is, well, I mean, it's kind of the end of an era, right? I think 1960, if you guys aren't familiar, right, either you live under a rock or you're brand new to Rise of Kingdoms, but Kingdom 1960 has been the kingdom. For the longest time, it has been the most powerful and most well-respected kingdom in Rise of Kingdoms, and even if you could argue otherwise, you can argue that they're always in the top 2 or 3, right? Like, let's just be real. If they ain't number 1, they're number 2 or 3, but most people are gonna put them at number 1, right? Like, let's be honest, okay? So 1960 is well regarded as the most powerful kingdom in Rise of Kingdoms, and yesterday Cwill, who is the oldest GT member, as he calls himself, posted an update on their YouTube channel, on Discord, and I believe in a Kingdom Mail as well. And so we're going to go over it here. If you've seen other content creators cover this, you can skip this part because we're just going to read through this, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on why Cwill and the rest of the leadership in 1960 are disbanding in Rise of Kingdoms. Okay, he says, hi everyone, it's not easy to say this, but the time has come. This KVK is my last dance, and with it my journey in 1960 comes to an end. I started playing Rise of Kingdoms in October 2018. So did I. Back then my wife and I had just been together 3 years, but now we're celebrating our 10th anniversary with our second child arriving next year. People shift their focus as they grow. Zake and Alano have become busy with their new jobs. Mamer, Galv, and Pika will soon graduate and step into a new chapter in life. Landlord Chen has health issues, won't be able to serve anymore, and there are too many good officers that have quit already. I cannot possibly list them all. In fact, 90% of them don't even have an account, but they are still willing to help for many KVKs without asking in return, so please be grateful for their past efforts. They did so much not because of the game itself, but because of the love and the bond and the friendship. Now if most of our core leadership can no longer commit, we simply can't sustain the same level anymore. ROK has been a part of our lives for too long enough to finally let go and move on. I'm sorry to say this, but our management team will disband. Every hell KVK we've endured cost us more than just troops. We lost friends, teammates, leaders along the way. Most of the friends I once fought alongside already quit. I miss Kendrick pushing 3-day fights by himself. I miss Leopard snoring on Discord when he was too exhausted to turn off the mic. I miss all the good old days that we stayed all nights tanking for each other, no matter win or loss. Yet ROK today doesn't give me that feeling anymore. With battle reports viewable on trading ratio, half the people on Discord are pilots who only care about trades. Now you just cannot find that unspoken bond and trust any longer. The moment I'm proudest of was after our first loss to 1093. When many had every reason to walk away, some of us chose to stay. We stood together, rebuilt together, and believed in each other. Then we helped 60 GT rise again. We came back stronger than ever, and in 2025 we fought 2 of the most epic KVKs in rock history. To all the new members who have joined recently, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to fight more battles together. I wish we had more time. By now we fought against or alongside almost every Imperium kingdom in the game. For me, there are no regrets left and nothing more we need to prove. Every dynasty has its end and every story has a final chapter, and this for me is the perfect one. People always debate which kingdom is the GOAT. Honestly, I don't care what they say, because to me, I can't spell GOAT without GT. It's resilience, it's courage, it's refusing to give up when everything is against you. Thank you for everything, for the journey, for the memories, and for standing by each other. Your oldest GT member, Cwill. Now originally I was going to take my normal stance of not really covering this because, I mean, what's there really to cover? Cwill says it all. Other content creators have covered it, and again, my policy has typically been to not really talk about other kingdoms, but I'm making the exception for this video because I think that Cwill's farewell message here kind of says the silent part out loud, right? If we pay attention, there are a couple of things in this message that stick out to me, and the first one is, you know, how long the management of 1960 has been playing the game and how much their life has changed since then. And I mean, as someone who has also started playing around the same time as them, my life is completely different, right? right? Like a lot has happened since 2018. I mean, the entire world is basically different since 2018. I started playing Rise of Kingdoms with a group of coworkers when I used to work at Apple, right? Like we literally started playing together in an alliance in real life. There was probably like 40 of us all in the same alliance, right? And in Kingdom 1062, and I remember our first ever Ark of Osiris match was in person. It was the first Ark, like the first time Ark ever happened in the game. It was a brand new event. I remember we all met at a nearby German bar, which has since closed unfortunately, and we played Ark of Osiris together in person at a bar, and it was great. It was fantastic. One of my favorite memories of Rise of Kingdoms, because I got to share it with friends and people in real life. And over the years I have been obsessed with Rise of Kingdoms to the point where I started making videos about it, and here I am. And now all the people that I started playing with back in the day, the people that I know in real life, have stopped playing, but along the way I've made friends that I still play with to this day, right? And that's why I stay in my current kingdom, because I love the people that I've met there. The reason I tell you this is because I get it, right? I mean, it's been a long time. It's been almost 7 years since I started playing Rise of Kingdoms, and since Cwill started playing Rise of Kingdoms, and life changes, right? And one of the things that is unique about ROK is that the game existed and kind of had an explosion of popularity during global lockdown, right? People were inside, people were looking for communities and things to play, and a lot of games, you know, typically when you think of online communities, you would think of something like an MMORPG or something like that, but a lot of times, you know, when you look at games like World of Warcraft, those communities are very fragmented these days. They're not very close, they're not very tight knit. But Rise of Kingdoms, at least back during COVID, had a very sort of tight knit community feel, right? You had to communicate via Discord and alliance chat and things like that, and I think a lot of people found a really interesting and cool community alongside a really interesting and fun game, right? And so because of that, because so many people started playing during that time and so many people kind of got entrenched in that community, I think people have played the game for a lot longer than they thought that they would, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that when you think back to lockdown, life was very different then, because a lot of people were working from home, right? And even after, you know, for a bit of time after, maybe a year or so afterwards, people were still permitted to work from home. They could still work from home if they chose to, and so a lot of people had more free time to spend on games, right? Especially games like ROK that require a lot of their time, right? And so as that has changed, right, as people's lives have changed, as the world has changed, and as what we expect from our video games has changed, I mean, let's be real, the gaming landscape has changed a ton in the last couple of years. I think a big component of what Cwill is saying here is that their personal life has changed and they don't have enough time to dedicate to Rise of Kingdoms, right? Which is totally fair. I think that that message resonates with a lot of people, because 7 years is a long period of time, and especially when kids are involved, like you just can't invest, you know, 2-3 hours a day to playing Rise of Kingdoms. The fact that they've even made it 7 years is actually insane. Okay, so that's the first bullet point, and I think that, again, I think that resonates with a lot of people here, and so I wanted to touch on it because I can understand that as well. The second thing I want to touch on here is that they don't really have much else to prove, right? They've already fought against or alongside most of the Imperiums in the game, and they've either won or lost to basically all of them. And how much longer can you do that before you kind of just run out of things to do, right? I mean, you keep bumping up against the same top tier players over and over and over again, and you know, if you get matched with weaker kingdoms, then you just stomp them and it's not fun anyway, right? So you're kind of stuck in the top 1% bracket, and at a certain point, you know, if you don't have any more worthy opponents, I should say, then you kind of lose interest, right? It's almost like being a grandmaster in chess. You spend most of your time playing other grandmasters, or if you're like diamond whatever in League of Legends, I don't even know what the rankings are in League, because I luckily had enough self-respect to quit that game back in 2015 or something. But you know, if you are the top ranking in those games, like you're playing against the other top tier players. And in Rise of Kingdoms, you know, this is a bit more of a niche game, and so what else is 1960 gonna do, right? If they kind of just sit around and wait for a few months and hope that another super powerful kingdom comes around, well, I mean, how long are members just going to sit around not in KVK and continue to enjoy the game, right? Like the fighting is the part that keeps people interested in Rise of Kingdoms, and so if they don't have fights that they're interested in, then I mean, what else really is there? Especially for something that, as we just said, takes so much of your time, especially for kingdom management. It's crazy, right? It's basically a part-time, if not full-time job on top of whatever else they got going on. Now, unlike the first bullet point, this is something that could be addressed in terms of how the game is built, right? Obviously there could be caps to kingdom power or things like that, but that gets to be, you know, it's tough when like the developers are kind of like capping your kingdom, because then it's like, well, what if I have all these friends I want to play with? The game is supposed to be about a community, and now you're restricting the size of the community. So I don't know what the actual answer is here. I know with Call of Dragons they tried to do sort of a seasonal thing, and people didn't like that. People liked having the home kingdom feeling and community, right? And I agree with that. I prefer that they're the actual kingdoms, right? I like that a lot. So they tried that with Call of Dragons. It didn't really work. Call of Dragons, I don't know what's going on with that game, but it hasn't really, like, it hasn't gotten that lifeblood back. Like, the game was fantastic at launch, and then it kind of lost me, and I've just been kind of like every like month or two I peek into the COD community just to see what's going on over there. What are they up to? What's, you know, and they've made fantastic changes, but there's not been like this thing that it's like, oh, I have to jump back in and try it, right? So I don't know what the solution is here. I'm not a game developer, and I'm not, you know, this video is not to, you know, I'm not trying to solve this problem, but I do think that at least that is a problem that is something that could be addressed by developers, right? Players having, you know, not enough free time or personal lives getting in the way of playing. There's nothing devs can do about that besides make the game really appealing to new players, right? And kind of replace those older players that quit, which I think has been, you know, Rise of Kingdoms has been pretty successful at doing that. I think that right now they're working on a lot of the early game stuff. You know, they have like the Vengeance game mode or whatever it's called. They've introduced commander swaps to get people up to speed a little bit faster. They've put a ton of commanders in the daily special offer to make it even easier for certain players to get their hands on commanders, right? So, you know, that aside, I do think that there might be something to look at here in terms of, you know, how can the game itself continue to forge new interesting battles amongst the top tier kingdoms and players without continuing down the same path that the game has gone down. And I think another solution there might be the newest Supreme Strife game mode. I think having smaller intense weekend battles might be the solution here, because then you don't have to spend a whole 45-50 days, you know, with the KVK, and then there's the planning leading up to it and all this other stuff, you know. So maybe that's the solution. Obviously that game mode is coming around very soon, and so, you know, that could be the future, but at least this is a problem that the developers can address. And the third thing that Cwill touches on here is the title of the video. Cwill says the quiet part out loud. This is the part that a lot of people have kind of, there's been grumblings, you know, in Discord calls and in comment sections and on Facebook pages, and a lot of this here has been discussed by community members for a very long time now, but I feel like in the last, I would say 9 to 12 months, this has gotten even more intense, right? And that is more specifically the fact that Cwill mentions that they feel like they're not really playing with a close, tight-knit group of friends anymore, right? They specifically call out, with battle reports viewable on trading ratio, half the people on Discord aren't even people that are like actually friends with Cwill, right? They only care about trades. Now you just cannot find that unspoken bond and trust any longer, right? And this is the part that, you know, I feel like if you've ever played in an A-seed kingdom or an Imperium, you know that over the last few months it seems like more and more kingdoms have shorter and shorter downtimes, right? The downtime refers to when a kingdom has nobody online, and when we have kingdoms that don't have downtimes and there's just these accounts, these players are always online, that is exhausting, right? That is exhausting. And so it forces top tier players to seek alternative strategies to make sure that they can compete on that same level. And it's obviously a problem, right? It's obviously a problem. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. And I first talked about this back in November of 2023. This problem has been around much longer than that, but that is the first time that like I felt that it was such a big issue that I made a video about it. And I want you guys to know that of all of the ROK creators that I see on Discord behind the scenes, this is a topic that gets brought up all the time with community managers, right? Just because you don't see, you know, myself or Chiskel or whoever making videos about these topics doesn't mean that we don't care about them. It doesn't mean that they aren't issues that we're aware of. It doesn't mean that we're pretending they don't exist. There is a Discord filled with content creators, and we talk directly to community managers and we voice our opinions, our concerns about the game. And as recently as, and I can't show the message, so you'll just have to take my word for it, but as recently as July 3rd, I have had conversations with community managers about this specific issue. Okay. And with Cwill referencing this in their sort of farewell letter, in my opinion, you know, as you know, they're the strongest kingdom in the game, right? Like, so from my perspective, this kind of elevates it to a new level of exposure, a new level of like, hey, maybe this is something that we need to spend a little bit more time focusing on and fixing. And so I mean it's out in the open, right? Like what are we doing? You know, the other thing that's mentioned here specifically is battle reports viewable on trading ratio. And if you guys paid attention to one of my most recent videos, we covered in the face-to-face with the developers that one of the questions that players ask the devs is that it's too easy to get the lowest brave in the odds rating in field battles, and their answer was that they are adjusting the categorization and presentation of battle ratings. Okay, and if you watched my original video where we covered this face-to-face with the developers, I said that it's probably better if we just remove it, right? And you know, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or whatever. I'm not a game developer. I don't know what's best for the game, but what I can tell you is that there are a lot of times, and again I said this in that video but I'll reiterate it here, there's a lot of times where when the field fighting gets too heavy and players can just easily see their kill ratio, they log off because they don't want to fight battles that are unfavorable to them, right? And that makes things even worse for the people that stays online, and then the problem snowballs and it gets worse and worse and worse, right? So the fact that we just talked about this like 4 days ago and now we're seeing, you know, sort of a reference to this issue in the departure letter from Cwill, it kind of just reinforces my opinion here that the battle reports and the trade ratio being viewable on those reports, at first it felt really good, right? It was like, oh yes, now I can immediately see how well I'm doing. But sort of a negative externality of that is that people now realize, oh man, I see how bad I'm doing, right? And when you're talking about a war game, like, do you want to play when you're losing, right? If you have the option of simply putting your phone down and walking away and just going and having dinner with your family and going and like doing whatever, like that's just more enjoyable, really, right? Why would you keep playing an open field engagement where you're just getting stomped out? Like obviously, you know, the idea is, the theory is that you would do it with your alliance and you would band together and suffer those consequences together, so that way when the good times come around and you get those amazing trades, you know, those 400% 800% trades, you know, then you kind of feel good about that, right? And the coin is flipped, you're now on the other side and you're on the giving end instead of the receiving end of that pounding, right? However, because player psychology is so important here, I do think that they need to tweak this so much to the point where, like, what if we just changed this to like a daily report? Like, what if every day at a reset you got your report from the day, like, okay, here's how you did throughout the day, right? That way you can't immediately see instantly and know, oh, I'm losing, I'm gonna log off, right? But you still get a report at reset every day that says, hey, here's how you did today, here's the total number of kills you got, the total number of deaths or sev wounds or whatever that you got, and then you can adjust the next day when you go into battle and kind of tweak things. And maybe they break it down by like army and things like that. I think that would be sort of a middle ground where you're still giving the players the data that they want to get, right? But you're not doing it in a way that's immediate, so that way players can't just see this and be like, oh, I'm logging off, right? I'm done, I'm good, I'm gonna go get lunch, right? I'll come back in 3 hours when the enemy is there's fewer of them, right? And just to be clear, I'm not saying to get rid of battle reports, I'm just saying remove the percentage from the battle reports and just revert them back to what they were before, right? Back before the percentage showed up and it said unstoppable or braving the odds or whatever the case might be, just revert them back to how they were before, so that way, you know, if you are one of those insane top tier players and you want to literally go through your battle reports as you get them and be like, oh, I'm about a 1.5 trade ratio, oh, I'm about like a 2 trade ratio here, like you can do the mental math and you could be like, oh, I kind of have an idea how I'm doing, right? That's still valuable. I think they should still do that. Obviously battle reports, we can't take out battle reports, right? But again, instead of having the big like, oh, unstoppable, look how good you are, right? Instead of having that on every report, you just have one daily report at reset that says, here, oh man, you popped off today, right? Like that would be one step in the right direction, I think, maybe. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to touch on here. There are things in this message that Cwill posted that are personal, and you know, there's always going to be personal reasons to quit games, but there's also things that Cwill posts in here that are genuine, like criticisms of the game that I think the developers are already aware of and they're already working on, and they're already trying to figure out ways to solve them, right? I think that's another big misconception that people have. They think that like the developers of the game are kind of just like, you know, because they don't talk about certain problems, they're just pretending that they don't exist, and that's not true, right? The developers know all the problems of the game. I mean, let's be real, this game makes millions of dollars a month, right? Like they do. That's just the data. So when you have a product or a game or a service that makes millions of dollars a month, you're not walking blindly through that success, right? You didn't achieve that by accident, right? There aren't many games out there that make millions of dollars a month, right? And so you don't achieve that just by a stroke of luck. It's by reviewing the things that are working and focusing on those, reviewing things that aren't working and trying to fix them, right? And so, you know, again, it's not that the problems that are listed in this farewell message, it's not that the developers are ignoring them or they don't think that they're a problem or whatever. They are working on them, but you know, I just don't know to what degree and how far that, you know, they've come with solutions and if they're satisfied with those solutions or whatever the case might be. So I just want to cover this here because it's big. This is big news, right? I mean, this is the management of the most powerful kingdom in the game stepping down and stepping away from the game. That's big news. Everyone's covered it. So I wanted to give you guys my 2 cents, my thoughts and opinions on this, and I can resonate with a lot of what Cwill is saying here as somebody who, you know, obviously I've never fought like 1960, right? And that's like the whole point. I'm not that guy, right? But I have been playing since October of 2018 and I've logged in almost every single day since, right? So I can sort of sympathize and empathize with them in a certain way. Obviously I'm not married with kids either, so my story is a little bit different, but so those are my thoughts and opinions on this. Obviously, you know, shout out to 1960. They're legends. They will go down in history as one of the most formidable and one of the most powerful kingdoms in Rise of Kingdoms history. Their dynasty has been very strong, right? And it also leaves sort of a power vacuum, right? Like who's the next big kingdom going to be? Who's going to step up and be like, okay, now we run, right? Like that's what's going to be interesting to see over the next 6 to 12 months, how these players scramble, if they do at all, right? Obviously, just because current management of 1960 is ending, that doesn't mean that, you know, anything could happen, right? Like more people could step up in 1960 and keep and carry the torch, right? Who knows? I have no idea. But, you know, if I were to guess, I would say there's a good chance that some of these players break off and go in other directions, but who knows? I'm just speculating at this point. And I don't, again, like I said at the beginning, I don't like doing that about other kingdoms. I have no idea what these people are going to do, but shout out to 1960 for being absolute legends. You carry the torch for a while now. You have earned every ounce of respect that you've gotten 100%. And now I'm interested to see what happens next and who the next rising star is going to be in Rise of Kingdoms. Guys, if you made it to the end of this video, drop a thumbs up on it. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out to the YouTube algorithm so other Rise of Kingdoms players might see it. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to the channel, click the bell to be notified the next time I upload a Rise of Kingdoms. We're so close to 90,000 subscribers, guys. Go ahead and click that sub button. And again, comment down below your thoughts on all of this. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.